Hello and welcome to Perspective. I'm Jawad. Tehami. Pakistan is hosting the 48th Council of Foreign Ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. The visiting dignitaries are going to participate in the Pakistan Day Parade on the 23rd of March as the guests of honor. A number of issues including Islamophobia, hate speech, the situation in Palestine, Kashmir, as well as the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan is going to be discussed in this particular high-level mood that is being held in Islamabad. And Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said Pakistan is going to act as a bridge amongst the Muslim countries, and in order to confront all those challenges which are faced by the Muslim Ummah. And the theme of this particular mood is partnering for unity, justice and development. Comprehensive security arrangements have been put in place, and Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmed termed the conference a matter of national security and said nothing could disrupt it, and talked about the significance of this particular mood that is going to happen in Islamabad for 2 days on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. I am joined today by Brigadier Retired Haris Nawaz, who is a senior analyst. He will be joining me on Skype. Brigadier Haris Nawaz, thank you very much for your time at Perspective. So starting with the significance of this particular mood, how significant do you think it is, especially after the passing of the UNGA resolution to combat Islamophobia, which was moved by Pakistan on behalf of the OIC?
I think, Jawad, it is the most important conference Pakistan is having, and that too after a period of a few months. Earlier also we had in Afghanistan, and now we are holding in Pakistan. And its significance, it is multiplied and manifold when recently United Nations adopted resolution that Islamophobia challenges, and then 15 March, every year 15 March will be celebrated. I think it's a big landmark which was initiated by Islamic countries, and then Pakistan moved the resolution. So Pakistan get a lot of importance, and the issue started when Prime Minister of Pakistan went to the United General Assembly and spoke about Islamophobia, and he, I think, discussed each and every aspect of Islamophobia and what Pakistanis and Muslims all around the world feel about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then of course how it hurts the feeling the other religion they don't realize. That was discussed. And then now it is more important because it is being held on 22nd and 23rd March is the Pakistan Day Parade, and in which all the Islamic countries members are going to attend it, and they will see the military and the disciplined might of Pakistan army and Pakistan nation, in which all sophisticated weapons will be displayed, newly JS C-10 will be shown, and this is going to cause a lot of interest of the Islamic world in Pakistan, that how Pakistan has become a very strong force. And then of course it's an Islamic country, it's a nuclear country. Then we have a professional military, and along with this our geostrategic location, it makes it more important. So I think this is a time when the environment should be very conducive, everything should be in order, and it should be held with the support of whole of Pakistan. Every segment of society should support this, because when our guests leave, everybody should know that Pakistan nation is the best of hosts. They know how to look after, and then of course how to manage such a huge gathering of Islamic countries. I think it's a landmark, and it will be remembered for the years to come.
Brigadier Haris Nawaz, when we talk about Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan's statement, he wrote an article in Arab News, and he said that when this particular mood coincides at the time when Pakistan is going to celebrate the 75th anniversary of its independence, it is an extraordinary display of the Muslim countries' solidarity with Pakistan.
Absolutely, and this shows the confidence and the trust of all the Islamic countries that showing in Pakistan, and the importance of Pakistan has because of our very good foreign policy, particularly related to our Muslim countries and Islamophobia. And a lot of credit goes to Prime Minister of Pakistan, who has done it. He ensured and he convinced the world that what is Islamophobia and how we have to negotiate and counter it. And that is what is going to happen. Along with this, a lot of things are going to be discussed. It's not only Islamophobia. Then, of course, last time it was deliberated upon Afghanistan. And this time, this is going to be Kashmir, the main focal point. And then India also supported it for, by the way, the resolution of Islamophobia, I think. So in this, it gets more importance that now how we are going to tackle it. Along with it, there are a lot of things, economic challenges we have. Then, of course, climate change is there, development projects. And I feel this is the right opportunity for the all Islamic countries to think over it, to work like a NATO. Why can't we have our Islamic NATO organization, like NATO organization? Because we have a lot of resources, we have a lot of manpower, we have a lot of skill and technical manpower. Why not to take a lead and then work and move forward? We should have our Islamic bank, we should have our Islamic strong fort, then we should have a lot of industry coming, even war industry should be installed in other countries. And then we should move forward. This is what is the purpose of it. When we get together with lot of heads get together, and that too a pure Islamic people, then outcome should be really visible. The West has created lot of difference. They have carried out division. So now is the time we have to get together, make an Islamic channel. Why not? Where Islamophobia should be focused. That what is Islam, how much it teaches peace, what they think of a killing of a person like killing of the whole of humanity, this should be discussed. So at this time, the best thing for Pakistan is to catch these opportunities, that hold it very peacefully, nothing should be happening, no untoward incident, and soft image of Pakistan should go to the world, because when all the Islamic countries delegations are coming, then foreign observers are coming. When they come and visit in Pakistan and they see how it has been managed and conducted, the soft image of Pakistan is portrayed to the whole of the world, and that is very, very important. Because the hard image, we're putting a lot of effort to convert it into a soft image, that Pakistan is a peaceful country, Pakistan has the best environment for investment. Then, of course, we are road to the development. We have a stable government. These are the indicators which shows that Pakistan is now a road to success. The only thing
Right.
we are lacking is economic prosperity, and for that, now we have to work together. And CPEC is the only key from where we can have a jump. And being Islamic country, nuclear country, geostrategic question, if economic prosperity, we can take a decision in our national interest.
Right, your point is well taken, Brigadier Haris Nawaz. I'm now joined by Mr. Amir Hussain, who is a columnist. He is joining me on the phone line. Mr. Hussain, thank you very much for your time at Perspective. Given the fact that it was Pakistan which tabled a resolution at the UNGA to combat Islamophobia, and that was adopted by consensus, and then we saw 3 months before there was an extraordinary meeting that was held in Pakistan of the OIC foreign ministers regarding Afghanistan, in which a humanitarian fund was also established. And how do you see these efforts by Pakistan and in terms of diplomatic victory and successes?
Thank you very much. I think this has been a great success in many ways, because the on the international forums, Pakistan has been raising this issue of Islamophobia, which has now been materialized into a dedicated day by the UN on 15 March each year. And secondly, the OIC meeting, which was held in December for Afghanistan, dedicated to Afghanistan. Pakistan took leadership role and build a narrative for the regional peace and stability. And this time again, when this summit is going to take place, I think there are three major themes that Pakistan would like to, put across, and the international community, the Muslim world, which is gathering together, justice, unity, and a partnership for prosperity in the aftermath of the COVID-19, which has created a lot of problems, poverty, disparity, and the Muslim Ummah as a whole is facing a lot of challenges. And I think the unity for building a better world, and also the
Mr. Amir, can you hear me? Okay, I think we've lost the contact with Mr. Amir Hussain. We'll definitely try to reconnect with him. Brigadier Haris Nawaz, coming back to how do you think, how bigger these successes for Pakistan as far as foreign policy is concerned, for Pakistan it has been?
Honestly, I feel the word respect a leader who is whose record is unblemished, no corruption charges, no self-interest, only interest for the country. And that is what they respect. They will like to have a very weak leader who moves or on the tunes of the other Western countries, but they don't respect him. That comes from the inner heart. When they know that he has a lot of character and he is really worried about the nation. There was once somebody asked Nelson Mandela a question: "What is the difference between a politician and a leader?" And Nelson Mandela said, "The politician is always worried about the next elections, and the leader is worried about the next generation." So this
Brigadier Haris Nawaz, can you please hear me?
As a true Islamic sovereign country.
Okay, when we talk about Pakistan's successes and the kind of the trust that it has built amongst the Muslim countries after the passing of this particular resolution and calling for a mood to address the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan, there is a Kashmir issue. It's a lingering dispute between Pakistan and India. There is going to be a contact group meeting on this issue as well. And a ministerial resolution is about to be passed on this one in order, according to Pakistani authorities, it is aimed at those elements which know the ground reality but remain to be silent on Kashmir issue. So after having built that trust amongst the Muslim countries, how do you think Pakistan can ask these countries or impress upon them in order to shake the conscience of Indian authorities to stop its brutalities in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and reverse its unilateral and illegal actions of the revocation of Article 370 and 35A?
I think this is very important. Pakistan must catch this opportunity when all the Islamic countries are here and they're all highly strong delegations are visiting us. We must put across the right issue of Kashmir and its fallouts. The most important thing is its fallout and then how it affects the whole world. What has happened in Iraq? We know what happened in Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, Palestine, Kashmir. So this is the time we have to be united. Once we were united, we put the resolution, Islamophobia has come on the agenda of United Nations. It was passed unanimously. So likewise, now is the time Pakistan must tell that what are the Kashmir issue, how it is a nuclear flashpoint, two nuclear powers are eyeball to eyeball, then what is ramifications, how it will seriously affect the Muslim world, the Muslim cause, and we have to show unity. When you are all standing together like a fist of a hand, that means you can convince the whole world. You can convince the General Assembly because it is right on their agenda. It's a United Nations resolution. They have the right to plebiscite. It is an international issue. Then in Tashkent, it is a bilateral issue. Both they've been sidetracked and then unilaterally India done it 370 and 35A. So when we are able to tell the world, the Islamic world and also our region, China, Russia, Iran, that what are the after effects, what are the fallouts, I think then the world will understand and I see this success that if a strong resolution of Kashmir is passed and Indians are told to revert 370 and 35A and then of course we push across on the United Nations General Assembly that they have to ensure that their resolution implement in letter and spirit. That is the purpose. And likewise, of course, Afghanistan should be very, very important issue. It affects a lot on Pakistan because Pakistan's construction and the operationalization of CPAC depends the peaceful Afghanistan. And that we have to, our friends are coming here in Islamic world. We must tell them that everybody should push India and the West to release their amount, make them economical so that they can have a writ of the government in Afghanistan and they can push all terror groups to leave and don't operate from their territory. So this is the right time Pakistan can do a lot along with our all other friends in Islamic countries to pass a resolution with this, and the whole thing will revolve around our Prime Minister, how he speaks, because when he speaks, everybody listens, and that is the true strength of a leader.
Right, your point is well taken. Brigadier Haris Nawaz, I am now once again joined by Mr. Amir Hussain, who is a columnist. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Hussain. So when we talk particularly about the Kashmir dispute, since Pakistan has built that trust among the Muslim countries, how do you think Pakistan can impress upon all these Muslim countries to join hands in order to impress upon India to stop its brutalities in occupied Jammu and Kashmir and reverse its unilateral and illegal actions of revoking the autonomy there?
Yeah, Pakistan has been effectively doing its diplomacy, the public diplomacy at international level on Kashmir, and I think one of the key successes is to build a narrative where in OIC we will have the Hurriyat conference representing the Kashmir people of Kashmir as well, which has been agreed by all the members who are joining the OIC. I think the OIC summit. One of the key areas that are important now is to look at one of the themes of this conference, which is unity, justice, and developmental. Under justice, the emphasis is on talking about the people who have been occupied by India and in Palestine by Israel and other areas. It is all about the Muslim, overall injustice that Muslims are facing right now. But I think as part of the Kashmir issue, specific to Kashmir, it is important that the message goes across all the participants of the OIC summit, which is very much there. I think Kashmir representation will be fully meaningful. And of course, Pakistan has been pushing it, and it is the time to materialize those aspirations of the people of Kashmir by representing them in a larger, one of the largest global platforms after the United Nations. So I think this is an opportunity, and this is a kind of great success for Pakistan and the people of Kashmir, who will have their say, who will have their voices heard by the international community. And through this conference, the message will actually go out to the international media, to other world people, leaders of other world community, the people across the world. And I think this is the time to make an impression that the 900,000 Indian military is deployed in Jammu and Kashmir to persecute the people who are fighting for their right of self-determination, who were granted the right of self-determination by the United Nations, by the Security Council Resolution number 47, which has been violated grossly by India. And this is truly a human catastrophe, an international issue where Pakistan has always been, showing respect to the United Nations resolutions to seek a negotiated solution for the dispute of Kashmir. India has been violating it all the time, and this time again, you see that when the Hurriyat conference when the Hurriyat wants to participate in the OIC, India is raising a lot of questions, calling it an internal Indian issue, which is not an internal issue. The dispute of Kashmir is unsettled, which was, in the Act of Independence of India, Pakistan, which is written that the people of Kashmir are given the right of self-determination, a choice as a princely state, and they wanted to join Pakistan, but India has been occupying the people of, the territory and oppressing the people for a long time.
So there is going to be an OIC contact group meeting on the issue of Kashmir, and there is a likelihood that a resolution could be passed in order to aim at those elements which have been silent on the Kashmir dispute despite knowing the reality on the ground. Do you think if such a resolution is passed at the platform of OIC, which happens to be the second largest intergovernmental organizations in the world, what sort of an impact this sort of a resolution would have at the United Nations so that the earlier passed resolutions by the United Nations Security Council regarding the Kashmir dispute could be implemented there?
Well, I think this will send out a very strong statement to the global community. The resolution will be a willingness, a consensus, and a mutual agreement by all 57 member countries, saying that the Kashmir issue must be addressed. letter and spirit under the United Nations resolutions, which are already there. So I think one part is the ownership of Muslim world, the ownership of international community, and secondly, I think this will also put a lot of pressure on India on diplomatic front to stop its atrocities that are being committed by India across the Kashmir. I think this is a strong movement. I would say this watershed in the history of the dispute of Kashmir issue, because so far the Kashmir issue was not taken seriously in OIC. This is for the first time the OIC is particularly interested and committed to discuss, and this is the success of Pakistani diplomacy to make it a strong case to be discussed at the international level. India is also putting pressure on different international, economic allies like Indonesia, like Morocco, and other Muslim nations. Despite all that, the OIC has been very serious, and they are putting aside the Indian pressures to, build a narrative which will go a long way towards the peaceful resolution of the dispute of Kashmir.
Mr. Amir Hussain, please stay with us. I'm now joined by Mr. Shahid M.G. Kiani on Skype, who is a former ambassador. And thank you very much for your time, Mr. Kiani, at Perspective. Definitely, we are going to talk about the future of the PAK-US relations, given the volatility at the global level amid the Ukraine crisis that is burning over there, and the situation in Afghanistan as well, and in the context of the OIC mood that is going to be held in Pakistan on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. So, Mr. Kiani, we had a statement by the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki saying that the relationship between Pakistan and the US has been long-standing, and it continues to go on certain trajectory on a diplomatic level. And then we saw a statement coming from the US State Department spokesperson, Mr. Ned Price, that US still considers Pakistan as a strategic partner, and we value the relationship with Pakistan. How do you see these statements?
Well, let me be honest. I think the problem with Pakistan and the United States is the relationship is symmetrical. You see, on one side, you have a superpower, the United States, right from the end of the Second World War till today. And then we have Pakistan, a much smaller country, and many a times our the interests of the two countries had converged. You had the Cold War, in which Pakistan had no fear from communism, even though we became part of the United States Cold War alliances like NATO, like NATO and CENTO, but we had no problems. Right after the signing of the border agreement in '63 with China, we started to develop relations with China. We had never feared any communist, onslaught. Our problem was security, and we were, hedged with another country like India on the eastern border, 6 times more larger than Pakistan, in terms of economy, in terms of armed forces, in terms of everything, physical size also. So, and then symmetrical means that Pakistan's, we had the challenging economy for the last now more than 7 decades, and we were dependent on international financial institutions like IMF or World Bank or Asian Development Bank. All these banks, but now unfortunately, are under the influence, very influence of the United States and other Western countries. So that's a problem. I think we ask too much from each other. The United States and Pakistan. Pakistan's geopolitical location is such that she's hedged in, the challenging relationship, the challenging geopolitical location. On the north is China. Still, you see now more on focus of the United States. Then you have Iran, problem with the United States. India, now a closer ally of the United States. So we are now problems, and the expectation from us also that Pakistan would deliver this and that. You saw the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Many newspapers and the politicians in the United States blame Pakistan. Pakistan has been very straight. Even this Prime Minister has been saying all along that a peaceful solution to the Afghan war should be, to the Afghan crisis should be looked into. And that is what we did. We influenced the Taliban, telling them and to sit on the table with the United States, and that's how the things have been resolved. So I think Pakistan cannot be blamed. At the same time,
beg your pardon for the interruption. You already alluded to the fact that both the countries asked too much of the things from each other. But given the facts that it was the US which was interested in Pakistan playing its role in order to make the Afghan Taliban come to the negotiating table, and we saw the US Special Envoy in Afghanistan, Mr. Zalmay Khalilzad, coming to Pakistan back and forth in order to have the negotiations with the Pakistani authorities, impressing upon them in order to impress upon the Afghan Taliban to come to the negotiating table and get the Doha peace deal done. And Pakistan, being the front line ally on the war on terror, over the last 2 decades suffered a lot and incurred huge losses, not in terms of human lives, but also in terms of economic losses as well. So do you think Pakistan asking the US for the acknowledgement of these sacrifices and the efforts for peace and reconciliation in Afghanistan is too much?
The thing is that it is on record that in the successive US administrations, from George Bush to even Trump, they have recognized Pakistan's sacrifices. You see, we have been in the forefront in the war against terrorism. We have been fighting this war not for ourselves only, but for the whole world, because Pakistan has condemned and has given immense sacrifices in terms of men. Our soldiers have died. Every second day you hear what is happening. And then the economy has suffered. Very, very serious dent has been put into the Pakistan economy. But successive US administrations had recognized Pakistan's sacrifices, but for some, you see, global regional politics has been played, then Pakistan at times has been blamed, even though they have no proof. Meaning, if you look at the global war on terrorism, Pakistan is in the forefront. We fought this war, we continue to fight this war, even though we had never asked these countries to acknowledge Pakistan, but morally, these countries should continue to acknowledge Pakistan. If something goes wrong in Afghanistan, it's not our fault. The forces, United States and NATO forces have been in Afghanistan for the last now 2 decades. We never asked them to be here. But what we're saying is that the withdrawal from Afghanistan of the foreign forces should be in a systematic manner, that there is no vacuum in Afghanistan. So this is what we have been saying. But our sacrifices are there. And one thing more, we have also acknowledged United States. United States says that Pakistan has sacrificed. We acknowledge United States support also. During the Cold War, post-Cold War, in the war against terrorism, we were allies. We were non-NATO allies also.
Okay, Brigadier Haris Nawaz, what do you think about this? Does Pakistan ask for too much from the US when it comes to the acknowledgement of the sacrifices it has made, being the frontline ally on the war on terror and its efforts in the peace and reconciliation over there in Afghanistan, and making the Afghan Taliban come to the negotiating table?
Pakistan demands have been very, very moderate. I would say there were hardly any demands. Pakistan has done a tremendous job for Americans. We brought Taliban on the negotiating table with the Americans, you know it, in Qatar. Then it was negotiated a deal. Then we forced even Afghan Taliban to sit with them, the Afghan Ashraf Ghani government, that we also know it. And then, of course, we did a lot of help foreigners, including Americans, to evacuate their embassy personnel and civilians through Pakistan, and we negotiated. But there is no acknowledgement. And what we have asked for, just appreciation, nothing else. Then why we want peace in Afghanistan? Because it affects tremendously Pakistan. If Afghanistan is peaceful, that means Pakistan is peaceful. Then, of course, Balochistan is peaceful. And if both are peaceful, means we can operationalize our Gwadar port and we can go to the road of big economic prosperity. That is what it is. And on the contrary, you don't want to talk to our Prime Minister of Pakistan, then you want bases, and we say we're not giving you, you get annoyed. You want us not to go to Russia, whereas we have independent sovereign state, it's our decision, and we know what is the importance of this thing. And then you put a penalty of $55 million to a national bank by the Central Bank of USA. So these are the things you can't be bullying every time. And now is the time Pakistan need to realign. We never say that we are going to abandon West or American. They are all the big countries. We want to remain engaged with them. We are doing a very good business with European Union and Americans. But the point is, we want to be strong in a region. We have a two nuclear powers. We have a two veto powers, which were Russia and China. And then, of course, we want to be strong in it. All is the principle that first you want to be strong in your neighbors. Be very strong in your neighbors. That's what we are doing it. And we have faced a lot of problems, Americans, and we want to tell Russia, we want to tell China, we want to tell Iran that let Kashmir is a nuclear flashpoint. In case trigger-happy Indians, if they do any misadventure, what it's going to have effects not only in this region but the whole world. That is what we are highlighting to our friends, and that's what we are now changing our alignment. Because in case Russia, China, Central Asia, Iran, we are together, seen how much economic prosperity we can have through operationalization of the Weatherford and CPAC. It's a big jump. We realize because earlier said, being an Islamic country, being a nuclear country, being a very geostrategic location, if we do economic prosperity, then we will be recognized. Even now, everybody acknowledges us. Then we can take our independent decision in our national interest. We will be out of the control of IMF World Bank, and that is what they don't want it. So that is the reason Pakistan is now exerting, but exerting positively towards Muslim countries, towards our region, but while remaining engaged with Americans, with Western European Union, and that is what we have $8 billion trade with the European Union, and then $4 billion with the USA. So we can't afford it. But then we have to maintain a balance. And that is what the art of diplomacy, because we have an ex-ambassador with us. Art of diplomacy is that you keep pursuing your objectives by maintaining best relations with others. So that's what it is.
So, Brigadier Haris Nawaz, you already mentioned you were of the view that it's the time for Pakistan to realign itself after the kind of treatment or the coldness that was shown by the US authorities towards Pakistan, despite Pakistan doing a lot for the US in the war on terror and as far as the peace and reconciliation efforts in Afghanistan were concerned. So, but when we talk about the recent statement given by a number of Pakistani high-ranking officials, including the Foreign Minister Qureshi himself, that Pakistan doesn't want to be the part of the camp politics, and Prime Minister Imran Khan himself said that Pakistan wants to be the partner in peace, not in conflict. So does it go with what you have suggested, that it should actually realign at this moment?
You see, the point is, this is the best statement Pakistan can give. We are a partner in peace, we can negotiate peace, we can mediate peace, but we don't want to become part of any war. What we have gained in Afghanistan, we lost around 80,000 civilians, we lost. Then, of course, $100 billion economic loss. And then, of course, we have got a lot of terrorism. The TTP, how it was created, they said because Pakistan is supporting Americans, so there's a group, Islamic group, they started sorting out Pakistan. And we suffered a lot. Big economic loss, big uncertainty, then a lot of chaos and confusion. There was no conducive environment. We couldn't invest the foreign investors in Pakistan because of these problems. Nobody was coming. So this is the opportunity now when we say we want peace, and we are sending a soft image of Pakistan now because so many Islamic countries, foreign dignitaries are coming to Pakistan. So this is what we wanted. And the best thing should be that we convince Americans and European unions that please make Afghanistan a stable, economical, viable country. When the writ of the one government is established over there, only then they can sort out Daesh, they can sort out Al-Qaeda, they can sort out TPP, they can sort out Islamic Turkistan movements. So that is the advantage you have. But when they don't have a control within the country, so the situation is best volatile for people like RAW coming into it, then anti-Pakistan elements coming into it and creating a lot of difficulty for Pakistan. But imagine if Afghanistan is peaceful, Then we have a connectivity with Central Asia. Then, of course, that means Balochistan is going to be very peaceful. And with all these peaceful things, we go and operationalize the Gwadar port. So our focus should be very clear. Become a partner in peace, keep doing economic prosperity, because by even Islamic countries, they don't speak in favor of Kashmir because they have a lot of economic interest in India. So when they come and invest in Balochistan and Gwadar, like Saudi is coming, UAE is coming, Russia is coming, then they are going to force Indians to hold the horses. Don't do any misadventure. We want peaceful Pakistan. And then the whole Middle East and the whole world is available for our economic prosperity.
Right. Brigadier Nawaz, I'll come to this very point. There has been a reaction from the US regarding the supersonic flying object that landed into Pakistan territory, which was so-called accidental fire, as per the Defense Ministry's clarification that came after 2 days of that incident. Mr. Amir Hussain, when we talk about the situation in Afghanistan, since Pakistan has taken a very clear neutral position regarding the world affairs and it doesn't want to be the part of the camp politics. So given that fact, after the abrupt withdrawal of the US forces from Afghanistan last year, the burden clearly shifted on the shoulders of its immediate neighbor, that was Pakistan. And earlier we saw that there was a huge influx of refugees, and in terms of economic assistance that Pakistan has been offering since the American troops withdrew from Afghanistan, don't you think with this kind of neutrality, the high-level engagements, given the circumstances in Afghanistan, happen to be very crucial? And would that be possible with that sort of neutrality, especially with the US high-ranking officials?
Yeah, I think one of the key factors is that Pakistan has always been, putting forth an important, a very, very important diplomatic narrative to the world. Number one is we have to understand the fact that now, while there is no peace in Afghanistan, Pakistan is providing the leadership for peace, not for war. In the war on terror, Pakistan suffered a lot, and now we have learned the lesson that we, as a sovereign nation, can take our own decision based on our own economic interest. Our economic interest is to seek peace in the region, stability in Afghanistan, having access to Central Asian resources through Afghanistan, but also bringing in the world for the larger coalition where the Afghanistan peace becomes a permanent and sustainable solution for their people as well. So I think this is not a neutrality to my understanding. This is the one step forward to, to persuade the world community for peace, stability, and the prosperity in Afghanistan and shared prosperity with the people of Afghanistan. I think this is a crucial moment, and Pakistan is now on a very good, on a very good trajectory, diplomatic trajectory, on the roadmap to seek larger peace in the region. And we have seen that when we had the OIC meeting in Afghanistan, that was an important initiative. Then we have also see that Pakistan has been able to bring the regional players as well on the table for negotiation, for peace, for Afghanistan. And we are now living in a different world. We are not living in a Cold War situation. We are not living in a bipolar world. We are living in a multipolar world. In a multipolar world, you know, to
your
make
point
more
is well
alliances.
taken, Mr. Amir Hussain. Beg your pardon for the interruption. Unfortunately, we are short of time. Mr. Shahid Kani, very briefly, how can Pakistan use this OIC moot to impress upon specifically the Western powers that the situation in Afghanistan actually requires high-level engagement?
I will just say two lines from PAK-US relations. You know, unfortunately, United States has seen us seize Pakistan through a very myopic lens. First, our relationship in the war against terrorism, and then Afghanistan. This is not how relations are built between major countries. They don't do like this. Nevertheless, this OIC summit, OIC Foreign Minister Conference is very important because here, first of all the Muslim countries inshallah, are going to be sitting here on, one table. And the serious issues which the Muslim countries are involved are embroiled rather. You see the issue of Palestine, the issue of the Kashmiris in the occupied Kashmir, the Rohingyas, and then the Islamophobias. These are things on which all the Muslim countries are on the same page. Our Prime Minister has been saying all along that, you see, Islam is a peaceful religion. It's not against anybody. And this is how the Western countries should also look at us. If 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 people from Muslims go on the wrong side or become extremists, that doesn't mean that the whole religion should be people should turn against the religion. That is something. And then the tolerance is that the Western countries should understand that they should not speak against the basic tenets of Islam and against the prophets. That is something which the Muslim countries and all over the world do not take it easy. So this will be, I think, the message. I'm looking towards the meeting and then the communique which will be issued.
Right. Brigadier Haris Nawaz, please, very briefly, how can Pakistan use this OIC mood to impress upon Americans specifically that after their abrupt withdrawal from Afghanistan, the high-level engagements and the communication channels to be opened are very crucial and necessary?
You see, this is the right opportunity because in this conference, this is what we're going to discuss it. That stability in the region, then of course Islamic Afghanistan problem and Kashmir problem. And how we see what is happening in Afghanistan. If American, they wanted peace in Afghanistan, they should not left unattended so much weapon ammunition so that it should fall in the hands of all extremist elements and then the region become very unstable. And that is what is exactly happening. If American wanted to leave, they should have taken all the weapons or it should have been handed over to the Afghan government. So that is the thing we want to tell them that now it is a responsibility, onus is on American. They had spent 20 years, they have destroyed the infrastructure, they have destroyed everything. It is a moral obligation of American and European Union to now come in Afghanistan and they reconstruct them. Their money should be unfrozen, should be given, again, it should be given so that they can do economical things. And you are demanding a human rights and so many things. What about the human rights of Kashmir? What are the human rights in Palestine?
Right.
So I think these are things you must understand and we should push Americans.
Right. Brigadier Retired Haris Nawaz joining me on Skype, senior analyst. Thank you very much for being at Perspective. Mr. Amir Hussain, who is a columnist, who was joining me on the phone line, and Mr. Shahid M.G. Kiani, former ambassador, was joining me on Skype. Thank you very much for your time at Perspective, all of you gentlemen. With this, we come to the end of today's show. Until the next show, it's goodbye and take very good care of yourselves.